In today's video, I'm going to take you through my 5 favourite reasons to use tables in Excel. Now, you might be forgiven for thinking that the data in front of me here in my Olympic athletes file is already in a table. It's nicely formatted, it has borders around it, and we've got a header row across the top. However, tables in Excel give you so much more than this. They give you access to functionality that will save you time every time you use Excel. To start with, we're going to look at how we put our data into a table. To do this, we're going to select every row and column that contains data. So starting in my top left-hand corner, I'm going to press and hold Control and Shift on my keyboard, and then press the right arrow, and you'll see that selected my whole first row. Continuing to hold Control and Shift, I press the down arrow, and we've now selected every row that contains any data. The next step is to format this as a table. As usual in Excel, there's a couple of ways of doing this. The first one is to just go up here into our ribbon and click on Format as Table, and then just select the style we want to use from the ones that pop up here. The other way we can do it is using a keyboard shortcut, which is the Control key and the T on your keyboard. Now this Create Table pop-up will come up whichever method you use, and all that's doing is confirming the area that your data is in, and you can see that's highlighted by the little dotted line moving around it. And we're confirming the fact that the table has headers. And this is important because it's going to convert that into a header row, and you'll see in the next step what that means. We click on OK, and it's just given us the default style, which is this blue and pale blue stripy formatting. Should we want to change the style of the table, we can do that at any time by coming into the table design area in the ribbon and then selecting our table design. As you can see, we can change that, or we can go and create our very own table style. I'm not going to go into that today, we're just going to leave it in the default style, and I'm just going to show you the functionality that it gives you. One of the first things you might notice is that your header row has now got these extra drop-down arrows next to each heading. These drop-down arrows are particularly clever because they adapt depending on the type of data that's in the column below them. So to show you what I mean, if we click here on Athlete, we get a sort A to Z, a sort Z to A sort by colour, which is a bit of a misleading title, but it gives you access to the custom sort, and that's the same as you would access normally to sort data, whether it's in a table or not. Now again, I could go into a bit more detail on that, but I'm not going to in this video. There's another video I've done about sorting and filtering data, so go and take a look at that if you want to look at a few more of the ways you can do that. The other thing this drop-down arrow gives us is the ability to filter this column, and it's searchable, which is so handy. If, for example, we just want to show all the rows about Michael Phelps, we can just start typing Phelps. Doesn't matter that it's at the start or the middle of the cell. Doesn't matter if it's part of the word or the whole word. You can see that it's reduced down that prospective list of search results. And if we apply that, you can see that it just shows us the 3 records about the 3 Olympic Games that Michael Phelps has competed in. I'm just going to clear that by coming back into my drop down and saying Clear Filter from Athlete. I'm just going to show you what it does with different types of data. So in our age column, which is numbers, we've now got sort smallest to largest and largest to smallest. And again, we can filter on a specific number. In our closing ceremony date column, we've got oldest to newest, newest to oldest, and filtering based on year and month and day. So that first great reason for using tables in Excel might be enough to convince you to use them. It's already saving loads of time by stopping you having to go and set up the filters and sorts manually. The next great thing about using a table is it stops you having to freeze that top row. So if we arrow down in our data until we get off the bottom of this page, you'll see that at the top I've still got access to my header row, and I've still got access to those drop downs wherever I am in the table. The next great reason to use tables in Excel is that it makes it really simple to use formulas such as totals for your columns. If we click anywhere in our table, it doesn't matter where, and come up to table design, we've got this total row tick box. Select that, and it's added a row to the bottom of our table. Now at the moment by default it just thinks we want to total the far right hand column, but you'll find that if you click on any of these cells in the final row you get a drop down again, and in here you get some of the more common functions. Again, you can go off and go into the more functions area and do more complex things. Again, I'm not going to go into that in this video, but I do have another video on using simple and common formulas in Excel, so do go and have a look at that if you want to find out more. But for now, we can do some really useful, quick analysis of our data, so we can sum up the totals in the columns. We can come across to our age column. We can find the average age of an athlete, or the youngest, or oldest. So those kinds of quick formulas that you can apply just at the click of a mouse are really, really handy. The fourth really good reason to use tables is that it's so simple to add new data. Now if we leave our total row on, I can just start typing in a new record, and then I can come over here to the right hand side of my table, and in this bottom corner there's a little backwards L-shaped grabber. We can click on that and hold, drag our table down, and you'll see that's incorporated my new row and moved our total row down. So I can just demonstrate that by adding 10 medals for this person, and you'll see that that's updated our total automatically. Now I'm just going to undo that using Ctrl-Z on my keyboard, and I'm just temporarily going to switch off our total row. So again, click anywhere in the table, go to table design and take that total row off. Because if you don't have that total row on, all you need to do to add data to your table is just start typing. And as soon as you move out of that cell, it's incorporated that data into your table and formatted it consistently with the rest of your data. Same applies to columns. So if we come back up to the top, and I just start typing to the right, you'll see that that formats the new column. So I can add data either in my rows or in my columns so easily, and it all gets incorporated into that table. Now the fifth of my favourite reasons to use tables in Excel is the ability to reference the data elsewhere in your spreadsheet, either in a separate sheet or on the same sheet in a separate area, and in things like pivot tables and charts and graphs. The first thing to do before trying to reference your table data elsewhere, just to make things easier for yourself, is to give your table a name, and you can name anything you like. So if you've got lots of tables in your spreadsheet, it's really easy to tell where the data you're referencing is coming from. Again, come up to table design in the ribbon, and you'll see on the left hand side it's given it a default name of table 1, but we can change that. So if we just change that to athletes, for example, press return, we've now got our table named. Now to reference our table, we're going to come to our references sheet. I'm going to use a really handy little function to reference it. If you want to find out a bit more about this function that I'm going to use now, then please head over to my video on simple functions and formulas, which contains some really handy everyday stuff. So this function is the unique function. I'm just going to show you how easy it is now to reference any of that data in your Olympic athletes table. So we start in a blank cell and we press the equals key and then start typing unique. And you can see this brings up a little hint here saying what this function does, and it's saying it returns the unique values from a range or array. We open our brackets, and then our array is effectively our table. So we can just use our table name here. So type athletes, you see it comes up, auto-completes below. I can just double click on that to complete the word. We've got a couple of parameters in this function. Again, I'm not going to go into them here. Head over to that other video to take a look at those. So we're just going to simply go our athletes table, use the square brackets to then reference the column that we want unique values from. The venue, for example, we just double click to fill that in, close our square brackets, close our round brackets, press return, and we've now got a unique list of the venues from the Olympic Games in our table. And it's really as simple as that to start referencing your data elsewhere in your sheets. So handy. Really hope you found this video useful and that you're going to enjoy using tables to make your life so much easier in Excel and speed things up day to day. If you have found it useful, Please do subscribe to my channel, like the video, and do give me comments, feedback on the video. If there's anything you'd like to see, anything you need me to make a bit clearer, then please just let me know. Thank you for watching.